The quiet hum of the washing machine was usually a soothing rhythm, a domestic lullaby that had comforted me for decades. Tonight, it was a sinister backdrop, muffling but not silencing the sharp, insidious words that drifted from the adjacent kitchen. My hands, calloused from a lifetime of caring for others, continued their meticulous work, folding a freshly laundered bath towel, each crisp edge a testament to a meticulousness no longer appreciated in this house. Honestly, Serafina, I heard Juliana, my daughter-in-law, my son's wife, sigh, her voice dripping with an audible, chilling disdain. She's just dead weight, taking up space, eating our food, doing nothing of consequence. It's utterly ridiculous. When is Ethan going to finally say something to her? My breath hitched, a silent, almost imperceptible tremor passing through my weary frame. Dead weight! The words delivered with such casual cruelty landed not as a surprise, but as a painful confirmation of a truth I had long felt festering beneath the thin veneer of polite domestic dinners and forced superficial smiles. My son Ethan, my only child, murmured something inaudible in response, a weak, customary assent, a quiet acquiescence that twisted the knife of betrayal deeper into my heart than Juliana's open contempt ever could. My presence, once cherished, then merely tolerated, was now actively unwanted, a clear burden in their seemingly perfect lives. I simply stood there, amidst the comforting scent of fabric softener and the overwhelming stench of unspoken resentment, acknowledging the harsh pronouncements, yet choosing in that precise moment not to confront the venomous words directly. My reaction was a quiet, dignified retreat, a silent promise to myself that this particular suffocating chapter of my life was rapidly, irrevocably drawing to a close. A new path, though yet undefined, called to me from the deepest recesses of my long-dormant spirit. The breaking point arrived, as these profound shifts often do, with a seemingly mundane accident, an almost trivial mishap that ignited a dormant volcano of suppressed emotion. Dinner was, as usual, a tense, suffocating affair. The clinking of forks against plates, the forced, brittle pleasantries exchanged across the gleaming mahogany table, the careful, almost desperate avoidance of direct eye contact. It was a practiced, excruciating ballet of unspoken hostilities, a dance of discomfort performed night after night. I reached for the ornate soup tureen, my hands still trembling slightly from the morning's raw revelation, feeling suddenly, inexplicably unsteady. The delicate porcelain, warm from the creamy tomato soup within, slipped from my grasp, a horrifying cascade of hot liquid splashing across the pristine, unforgivingly white tablecloth. Before I could even utter a gasp of apology, before I could retrieve the clattering spoon, Juliana's hand, swift and sharp as a viper, lashed out, striking my hand with a stinging force that sent a jolt of pain up my arm. Her eyes, usually cold and calculating, blazed with a sudden, unbridled fury, a raw, terrifying rage I had never before witnessed. "Are you completely useless, Alara?" she hissed, her voice a low, dangerous growl barely contained. Then, without a moment's hesitation, her open palm connected with my cheek, a shocking, resounding slap that echoed in the sudden, stunned silence of the dining room, cutting through the oppressive atmosphere like a physical wound. The immediate heat of the blow, the sharp, persistent sting, was secondary to the chilling realization that washed over me, colder and more profound than any physical pain. My son Ethan sat motionless, frozen, his fork suspended halfway to his mouth, a tableau of inaction. His eyes, fixed on my reddened face, held a fleeting flicker of something. Was it pity? Shame? Perhaps even a fleeting fear of his wife's wrath. But he said nothing. He did not move. He did not defend me. Not a single word, not a single gesture. In that horrifying, suspended moment, with the burning imprint of Juliana's hand on my skin and the silent, deafening betrayal of my son's inaction, the deepest, most painful truth of my life crystallized with brutal clarity. My son, the boy I had raised, the man that I had sacrificed everything for, the one who was supposed to be my protector, would never, ever stand up for me. The pain of that truth eclipsed the physical sting of Juliana's hand, searing itself onto my soul. Then a sudden, unfamiliar voice, sharp and clear as a bell, cut through the suffocating silence, a beacon of righteous indignation. What in God's name was that, Juliana? Briar, my daughter. She stood poised in the doorway, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief, fixed first on my tear-filled eyes, then on my now bruised cheek. Briar, my strong, beautiful Briar, who had just navigated the painful, messy dissolution of her own marriage, was an unexpected, glorious apparition, a warrior princess arriving in my darkest hour. Her gaze swept from my wounded face to Juliana's furious, defiant expression, then finally settled on Ethan's passive, cowardly inaction, his face a mask of weakness. A storm gathered in her eyes, a righteous fury I had never seen since her fiercely protective teenage years, a testament to her unyielding loyalty. "You dare lay a hand on my mother, you ungrateful wretch!" Briar's voice rose, trembling with indignation, with raw, unadulterated outrage. Before anyone could react, before Ethan could stammer a protest, she moved, a blur of motion, her hand striking Juliana's cheek with a resounding smack that echoed Juliana's own violence, a swift, undeniable retribution. Juliana gasped, clutching her face, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief, unable to comprehend this sudden, fierce defense. Ethan finally stirred from his frozen stupor, leaping to his feet, his voice laced with panic. "Briar, what are you doing? Stop!" But it was too late. The dam had broken, the carefully constructed facade of our fractured family had shattered, revealing the raw, ugly truth beneath. I looked at Ethan, truly looked at him, and for the first time in decades, I saw not my beloved son, the boy I had raised, the man that I had sacrificed everything for, the one who was supposed to be my protector, would never, ever stand up for me. The pain of that truth eclipsed the physical sting of Juliana's hand, searing itself onto my soul. Then a sudden, unfamiliar voice, sharp and clear as a bell, cut through the suffocating silence, a beacon of righteous indignation. What in God's name was that, Juliana? Briar, my daughter, she stood poised in the doorway, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief, fixed first on my tear-filled eyes, then on my now bruised cheek. Briar, my strong, beautiful Briar, who had just navigated the painful, messy dissolution of her own marriage, was an unexpected, glorious apparition, a warrior princess arriving in my darkest hour. Her gaze swept from my wounded face to Juliana's furious, defiant expression, then finally settled on Ethan's passive, cowardly inaction, his face a mask of weakness. A storm gathered in her eyes, a righteous fury I had never seen since her fiercely protective teenage years, a testament to her unyielding loyalty. "You dare lay a hand on my mother, you ungrateful wretch?" Briar's voice rose, trembling with indignation, with raw, unadulterated outrage. Before anyone could react, before Ethan could stammer a protest, she moved, a blur of motion, her hand striking Juliana's cheek with a resounding smack that echoed Juliana's own violence, a swift, undeniable retribution. Juliana gasped, clutching her face, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief, unable to comprehend this sudden, fierce defense. Ethan finally stirred from his frozen stupor, leaping to his feet, his voice laced with panic. "Briar, what are you doing? Stop!" But it was too late. The dam had broken, the carefully constructed facade of our fractured family had shattered, revealing the raw, ugly truth beneath. I looked at Ethan, truly looked at him, and for the first time in decades, I saw not my beloved son, the boy I had raised, the man that I had sacrificed everything for, the one who was supposed to be my protector, would never, ever stand up for me. The pain of that truth eclipsed the physical sting of Juliana's hand, searing itself onto my soul. Then a sudden, unfamiliar voice, sharp and clear as a bell, cut through the suffocating silence, a beacon of righteous indignation. "What in the world is that?" Juliana. Briar, my daughter, she stood poised in the doorway, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief, fixed first on my tear-filled eyes, then on my now bruised cheek. Briar, my strong, beautiful Briar, who had just navigated the painful, messy dissolution of her own marriage, was an unexpected, glorious apparition, a warrior princess arriving in my darkest hour. Her gaze swept from my wounded face to Juliana's furious, defiant expression, then finally settled on Ethan's passive, cowardly inaction, his face a mask of weakness. A storm gathered in her eyes, a righteous fury I had never seen since her fiercely protective teenage years, a testament to her unyielding loyalty. "You dare lay a hand on my mother, you ungrateful wretch?" Briar's voice rose, trembling with indignation, with raw, unadulterated outrage. Before anyone could react, before Ethan could stammer a protest, she moved, a blur of motion, her hand striking Juliana's cheek with a resounding smack that echoed Juliana's own violence, a swift, undeniable retribution. Juliana gasped, clutching her face, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief, unable to comprehend this sudden, fierce defense. Ethan finally stirred from his frozen stupor. A blessing became a burden, then a convenient target for her increasing frustrations, her stress, her own insecurities, her mounting dissatisfaction with her life. And her husband found an easy outlet in my quiet, uncomplaining nature. I was always there, always available, always forgiving, a constant, invulnerable presence. And Ethan, my son, the one person who should have been my shield, my champion, became increasingly passive. His silence a louder, more profound betrayal than any spoken word could ever be. He witnessed Juliana's growing disdain, her dismissive comments, her increasingly bold acts of disrespect, the subtle slights that escalated into open slurs, the casual neglect that hardened into intentional invisibility. And he chose time and again to look away, to remain silent, to prioritize his wife's fleeting moods and volatile temper over his own mother's dignity and well-being. My sacrifices, once a source of quiet pride, now felt like open, festering wounds, bleeding with the bitterness of being taken for granted, of being exploited, of being used until there was nothing left to give. The realization hit me with a searing, undeniable clarity. My years of unwavering support, my selfless giving, my profound, unconditional love had gone not just unappreciated, but actively resented. I had become the convenient scapegoat, the silent punching bag for Juliana's unchanneled anger. And Ethan, by his complicit silence, by his shocking inaction, had handed her the gloves, encouraging her to strike. That slap, the stinging rebuke across my face, was not just a physical assault. It was the final, brutal confirmation that my sacrifices had not only gone unacknowledged, but had somehow been twisted into a twisted justification for my mistreatment. It was the moment I understood that the wellspring of my giving had finally, irrevocably run dry. Not for lack of love, but for lack of respect, for lack of any shred of human decency. The time for Alara to reclaim herself had arrived. In the harrowing aftermath of Juliana's humiliating slap, a profound, life-changing decision solidified within me, cold and unyielding as granite, yet radiating a quiet, powerful heat. There would be no more quiet suffering, no more passive acceptance of my diminished, debased state. The time for decisive action, for reclaiming my trampled dignity, for rebuilding a life on my own terms, had finally arrived. With trembling but resolute hands, hands that had kneaded bread and soothed fevered brows, I picked up the telephone, my fingers surprisingly steady, dialed the bank's familiar number, a number I had contacted countless times to make the monthly mortgage payments that had sustained their home. The automated voice, calm and detached, walked me through the labyrinthian options, a stark contrast to the emotional maelstrom raging within me. I wish to stop all future mortgage payments on the property located at 456 Oak Lane, Smithville, Maine, I stated, my voice clear, unwavering, imbued with a newfound authority that surprised even myself. The representative, after a brief, almost imperceptible pause, confirmed the request, her tone businesslike. I then, with a chilling precision, provided Ethan's and Juliana's full names and current mailing address, redirecting all future correspondence regarding the substantial remaining balance of the mortgage directly to them. It was a silent, strategic withdrawal of my financial support, a deliberate, calculated severing of the economic ties that had bound me to their increasingly suffocating, ungrateful world. The act itself was profoundly empowering, a quiet revolution taking place within the confines of my own heart, a declaration of independence. It was a testament to my resolve, a quiet assurance that my past generosity would no longer be a weapon against me. Later that evening, after Ethan and Juliana had returned, their faces still etched with the raw aftershocks of the dinner table confrontation, their eyes weary and subdued, I calmly, meticulously prepared a light supper. The comforting aroma of herbs and simmering vegetables filled the kitchen, a stark, almost ironic contrast to the palpable tension that hung in the air, thick and heavy as a storm cloud. As they sat down at the table, their usual animated chatter replaced by an uncomfortable silence, I walked towards them not with anger or accusation, but with a quiet, deliberate composure that unnerved them more than any outburst. I placed the small, crisp, sealed bank confirmation envelope, pristine white against the dark wood of the dining room table, precisely in its center, directly between Ethan and Juliana. Their eyes, drawn by the unexpected formality of the envelope, flickered with curiosity, then concern, then a dawning apprehension as they recognized the bank's logo. I met Ethan's gaze, my eyes holding a steady, unblinking clarity he had rarely, if ever, seen before. "Ethan," I began, my voice even, devoid of the emotion I felt churning within me, yet firm with conviction. "And Juliana, as of today, I will no longer be making your mortgage payments on this house. All future communication regarding the house and its finances will go directly to you. My financial support ends now." The words, delivered with a quiet, unwavering finality, hung in the air, potent and undeniable, each syllable landing like a stone. Ethan's face, drained of all color, his jaw slackening in stunned disbelief, a sudden horrifying realization dawning in his eyes. Juliana's eyes, usually so sharp and calculating, widened in sudden, profound horror, her carefully constructed world of entitlement beginning to crumble around her. The comfortable life they had built largely on my quiet generosity, on my silent, continuous financial contributions, was suddenly, irrevocably, entirely their own responsibility. I offered no further explanation, no defense of my actions, no argument against their stunned silence. My declaration was simply a statement of fact, a boundary drawn with unwavering resolve. Their silence, their shocked, disbelieving silence, was my answer. My part in their financial comfort, in their carefully constructed illusion of independence, was unequivocally over. I had spoken my piece, a truth that had waited decades to be uttered, and now it was time to seek true, unburdened peace elsewhere, far away from their toxic influence. I spent the rest of that evening making my final, quiet preparations, my heart surprisingly light with an anticipation I hadn't felt in years, a profound sense of liberation bubbling within me. Early the next morning, before the first blush of dawn painted the sky with soft hues of pink and gold, I moved through the silent house like a ghost, leaving no note, no farewell, no trace but the faint, lingering scent of my presence, a memory soon to be swept away. The house key, a tangible symbol of my past captivity, of my years of silent service, remained on the kitchen counter, glinting in the faint light, a silent testament to my definitive departure. My bags, packed with the few possessions that truly mattered, a lifetime condensed into 2 modest suitcases, felt lighter than I could have ever imagined, unburdened by the weight of unspoken resentments.
As I stepped out into the crisp, cool morning air, a profound, exhilarating sense of liberation washed over me like the first breath after being held underwater for too long. I chose to walk away, to simply disappear from the situation that had diminished me, eroded my spirit, and consumed my life for too long. My destination was Florida, a place of perpetual sunshine and the promise of new beginnings, a distant haven with the one person who truly understood the meaning of sacrifice and the excruciating pain of betrayal, my daughter Briar. She had recently navigated the choppy, turbulent waters of a painful, protracted divorce, emerging bruised but remarkably resilient, her own spirit scarred but unbroken. She had sought solace in the warmth of the Florida coast, and now I would join her. Together, we would forge a new path. Briar met me at the airport, her embrace fierce and comforting, a powerful, silent acknowledgement of the shared burdens we both carried, the unspoken wounds that had brought us together. We settled into a small, sun-drenched apartment by the beach. The rhythmic roar of the ocean, a soothing, constant balm to our wounded souls, washing away the echoes of past hurts and disappointments. We cooked simple, nourishing meals together in the small, sunlit kitchen, our laughter echoing with a lightness that hadn't been absent from my life for too long, a joyful sound of rediscovered happiness. We shared stories, tears, and countless quiet moments of understanding. Each revelation, each shared memory, a thread weaving a new, stronger tapestry of sisterhood and unwavering shared strength. Briar, who had endured her own share of emotional neglect and manipulation, became my guide. Her knowledge of the healing power of nature and the honorary commitment to self-care profoundly healing for me.
She who had once felt the understanding of similar experience spottation in her marriage understood my pain with an empathy no one else could offer, a silent understanding born of shared experience. Together, in that small apartment by the vast, unyielding ocean, we began to meticulously build a new life, a life where we healed, where we supported each other unconditionally, where we nurtured our spirits and where we learned, for the very first time, to truly embrace independence and freedom, not as a desperate escape, but as a deliberate, conscious choice, a celebration of autonomy. Life in Florida unfolded with a gentle, unexpected grace, a profound sense of calm settling over us like a warm blanket. Briar, once hesitant and uncertain after the emotional upheaval of her divorce, gradually gained a quiet, unwavering confidence, her vibrant spirit blossoming under the warmth of the perpetual sun and our shared serenity. She discovered a latent, innate talent for design, pouring her boundless creative energy into crafting exquisite handmade jewelry, each delicate piece a tiny work of art infused with the peace of the ocean and the strength of a new beginning. Her small business, Seaside Sparkle, began to flourish, first through quaint local markets, then online, reaching customers far beyond our immediate community, a shining testament to her resilience, her burgeoning self-worth, and her innate artistic flair. As for me, Alara, I rediscovered forgotten joys, passions that had been buried under decades of obligation and sacrifice. The kitchen, once a place of endless chores, thankless labor, and unspoken resentment, became a sanctuary of creative expression, a place where I felt truly alive. I took up baking again with a profound fervor, my hands kneading dough with a profound passion, conjuring delectable breads, pastries, and intricate cakes that quickly became a cherished favorite among our small but growing community of friends and appreciative neighbors. My contributions, once so cruelly dismissed by Juliana as doing nothing, now brought immeasurable joy, fostered new connections, and provided a genuine, tangible sense of purpose that resonated deep within my soul. I was not just eating, I was creating, nurturing, contributing to a life that was truly our own, built on mutual respect and shared dreams.
the peace I found in this quiet, simple existence with Briar was profound, a deep, overflowing wellspring of contentment that had eluded me for decades. I learned to value myself beyond the roles I once filled for my family, beyond the suffocating labels of mother, grandmother, dead weight. I was Alara, whole and complete, worthy of love and respect, simply for existing, for being myself. Months passed, stretching into a year marked by the steady, comforting rhythm of the ocean and the quiet joy of our shared life. Our small apartment became a true home, filled with laughter, the scent of fresh-baked goods, and the clinking of Briar's new jewelry designs. Then one quiet afternoon, as the sun began its descent, painting the sky in fiery hues, the phone rang. A jarring, unwelcome intrusion into our peaceful sanctuary. It was Ethan. His voice, once so aloof, so dismissive, was now laced with raw desperation, cracking with thinly veiled panic, barely recognizable. "Mom," he stammered, his words tumbling out in a rush, "you have to come back. We're in terrible trouble. The bank, they're foreclosing on the house. We can't make the payments, not without your help. We're losing everything. Please, Mom, you have to come back for Nova and Kai." His words, once a powerful weapon used to control and manipulate me, now sounded hollow, pathetic, devoid of any genuine understanding of the consequences of his actions. I listened, calm and composed, the searing image of his passive face at the dinner table, the echo of Juliana's stinging slap, still vivid in my mind, a stark reminder of the past. "Ethan," I said, my voice steady, remarkably clear, devoid of accusation, but firm with unyielding resolute. "I'm sorry to hear that you're facing such difficulties, but I won't be coming back." A stunned, profound silence stretched between us, thick with his disbelief. "Mom, please," he pleaded again, his voice rising, bordering on hysteria. "Don't you understand? We'll lose everything. What about the kids? Nova and Kai need you. They miss their grandmother." The mention of Nova and Kai, my sweet grandchildren, tugged at a distant corner of my heart, a pang of sorrow for the innocent caught in the crossfire of their parents' choices. But the decision had been made long ago, the line drawn with unwavering certainty. "Alara," I repeated, my voice softening slightly but holding firm, resolute, "I gave you everything I had for years. I gave you my time, my money, my presence, my very self, my entire being. And you and Juliana chose to treat me as dead weight. You chose silence when I desperately needed your voice. You chose neglect when I needed respect and recognition. I have found my peace here, Ethan. I have built a new life, a life where I am valued and respected, and I will not, under any circumstances, return to a situation that diminishes me, that breaks my spirit. That house, that life you chose is your responsibility now. You must face the consequences of your own actions, as I had to face mine. My journey with you ended the moment you allowed me to be slapped across the face." I heard him sigh, a long, defeated sound, heavy with the weight of his belated regret, before he finally, silently disconnected the call. There was no anger in my heart, no lingering bitterness, only a quiet, profound resolve, a sense of closure that settled deep within me. I had chosen peace, true freedom, and self-preservation over continuing the painful, toxic cycle of abuse and neglect that had defined my life for too long. The final resolution of our lives unfolded with a quiet, almost poetic simplicity, a beautiful symphony of rediscovery. Briar and I continued to build our new world, brick by brick, moment by joyful moment, our bond growing stronger with each passing day. We took small, spontaneous trips along the sun-drenched coast, discovering hidden coves and charming seaside towns, savoring the simple joys that had once been taken for granted in our previous complicated lives. Each vibrant sunrise over the endless ocean was a fresh beginning, a promise of new possibilities, and each breathtaking sunset, a peaceful, contented ending to a day well lived. Life was no longer a burden, no longer a series of obligations, but a precious, unfolding narrative of moments to be savored, cherished, and celebrated. One quiet afternoon, amidst a pile of everyday mail, a small, slightly crumpled, handwritten envelope caught my eye. The familiar, earnest, childish script on the address filled me with a bittersweet pang, a complex swirl of emotions. It was from Nova. I opened it carefully, my heart fluttering with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Inside, tucked lovingly, was a vibrant crayon drawing of two stick figures holding hands, one tall, one small, against a bright sunny background, and below it, scrawled in earnest, imperfect letters, a message that touched the deepest part of my soul. Dear Grandma, I miss you. I love you. Nova. A single tear, warm and pure, traced a path down my cheek, a complex mix of grief for what was lost and profound healing for what had been found. Ethan and Juliana might have forgotten, might have dismissed, but Nova remembered. And in that small, innocent gesture, I found a deep, abiding solace, a confirmation that not all my sacrifices, not all my love had been in vain. Alara's journey of self-discovery culminated not in a grand confrontation or a dramatic act of revenge, but in the profound, quiet reclamation of her peace and dignity. She no longer apologized for existing, no longer shrunk herself to make others comfortable, no longer carried the crushing burden of their expectations or their neglect. She was whole, complete, and fully present in her own life, a woman reborn from the ashes of her past. The story of Alara, once the dead weight, ended not with bitterness, despair, or lingering resentment, but with a vibrant, empowered embrace of her new existence, free from the constraints of past sacrifices and ungrateful demands. She learned to live entirely on her own terms, surrounded by the quiet joy of Briar's unwavering companionship, the gentle rhythm of the ocean, and the boundless expanse of a life truly lived.